Welcome back to another Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Krayden. We just had some internet problems at the last minute there, but we're back up and running. So, lots to talk about today. And of course, we are on the precipice of potential catastrophe. And we will be talking about that, the options that are available, and the consequences we're facing when we come back. Thank you for joining me. And this is David Krayden broadcasting live from Ottawa. We'll be right back in mere moments.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to lie.
We need political change. But we also need to resolve to resist. Yes, please like the station now. Give it a thumbs up. And subscribe if you haven't, or resubscribe. We had a less than banner day yesterday with subscriptions, but these are controversial times. These are difficult times, and I'm just trying to tell you how difficult they are. And I know there's a divergence of opinion on what should happen in the Middle East, but I'm telling you, if it happens the way it's probably going to happen today, it's going to have huge consequences for all of us. And I think we have to acknowledge that. Before we get to the war in the Mideast, though, I want to touch on what happened at the G7 yesterday with Zelensky, who, of course, was the special guest star, Volodymyr Zelensky, corrupt president of Ukraine. They've got some nerve, going on and on about corrupt leaders around the world, and not including Zelensky in that bunch. This is a guy who showed up again with his hat in hand, and he got $4.3 billion, $2 billion in an outright assistance, and another 2.3 in a loan. You think we're going to get the loan back, though? Zelensky won't be around much longer. God knows if the state of Ukraine will be around much longer, at least in its current form. The government there is going to fall. And do you think they're going to be paying back any bills? No. I think we all know that.
I would like to start by condemning, in the strongest terms, the latest outrage, barbarism from Russia, and express my deep condolences and those of the Canadian people to the families in Kyiv who were affected. This underscores the importance of standing in total solidarity with Ukraine, with the Ukrainian people. And we had a discussion last night amongst G7 leaders. The President and I will discuss more, and then of course we'll have the direct discussion in a moment.
I have to say, this clown, this joker, does not represent the Ukrainian people. He did not get reelected. He did not stand for reelection. He said no more elections, and he's jailed his opposition. So stop pretending we're on the side of Ukraine. We're standing in solidarity with Ukraine. My heart goes out to the millions of Ukrainians who have been affected by this war, and the families of those who have lost loved ones, over 1 million, possibly 2, who have died in this war because this guy wants to cling to power.
Together, but we underscored the importance of using maximum pressure against Russia, who has refused to come to the table. The President has led unconditionally to come to the table in search of peace. And maximum pressure includes financial pressure, and Canada is announcing today several measures, sanctions, first and foremost, against a number of individuals in Russia, against over 40 entities in Russia and beyond that are trying to contribute to the evasion of sanctions, the sanctioning of over 200 vessels in the shadow fleet that Russia is using, again, to try to evade these sanctions. That's the first thing. The second is we are providing additional military assistance, drones, helicopters, broader munitions, over $2 billion worth of assistance directly to Ukraine. And thirdly, we are dispersing the next tranche of the loan based on the frozen Russian assets, over $2 billion as well. This is our contribution. We'll be working with our European and other allies for their contributions to provide the support, and to be absolutely clear, the support.
So they're going to give the money extorted or stolen from Russia to Ukraine. And where do you think Ukraine's going to go with that money? Swiss bank accounts, obviously, and they're going to be leaving the country, and because they know the end is near. They're just around to collect more money from suckers like Mark Carney and the suckers who support this war continuing forever. This is all about forever wars right now.
We'll be unwavering until we get a just peace for Ukraine and Ukrainian people.
Thanks so much, dear Prime Minister. First of all, good to be here in Canada, and for the G7 summit, thank you for your invitation. But first of all, thank you for your very important words, warm words, and supporting Ukraine. Of course, condolences to our families. Really, Ukrainians had, our families had very difficult night. One of the biggest attacks from the very beginning of this war, 440 Shaheeds, Iranian drones, and 32 missiles, including ballistic. And I was on direct connection during the flight with all the ministers and of course with the chief of air defense. And really, it was a big attack on civilian infrastructure, on people, just people, houses, and etc. And for now, information is not total information, not that final information, but for now we have 138 injured people and 12 killed. And so, yes, it's a big tragedy for us, and we need support from our allies, and I'm here, and thank you for the military package. It's important for our soldiers to be strong at the battlefield, to stay strong until Russia will be ready for the peace negotiations. We are ready for the peace negotiations, unconditional ceasefire. I think it's very important, but for this we need pressure. And of course, I want to speak with Prime Minister today about sanctions, additional sanctions, and thanks for the real unwavering support from your side, from all the Canadians to our people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's not unwavering from us all, believe me. And I think we know that. But what are the consequences here of not only the war in Ukraine, but we are on the brink of the United States getting into a shooting war with Iran and potentially allies of Iran. And one of those potentially, again, could happen. We don't know what's going to happen. Could be Russia getting into this on Iran's side, because they really don't think the United States should be imposing its will on the whole region in the Middle East. This is an alliance system unfolding before you. And it's not even a tight alliance system such as NATO has been for the past 75 years. This is a loose alliance system, but it is unfolding before our eyes, just as the First World War unfolded before people's eyes. They knew they were sleepwalking into Armageddon. They knew they were on the precipice of a disaster, but they just didn't know how to stop it. So they were all walking over the cliff together, still thinking it's probably not too late, because let's face it, the war won't last forever. They thought it would be over by Christmas, starting in people didn't even realize when it started, that the assassination of the Archduke Ferdinand was going to be the precipitating event. That wasn't clear immediately that that's the event. That's what started the First World War. What could potentially start the Third World War? Well, it could already be on, and history will show when this started. But you've got all kinds of activity going on here with the United States sending K-135s. I'm very familiar with this aircraft because I used to be an Air Force public affairs officer. These are crucial in refueling, in Canada's case, CF-18s, because we're still flying those. With the United States Air Force, Navy, and Marines, the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. These are refueling in midair so they can continue. B-2 bombers as well. We know the United States is sending a huge arsenal to the Middle East. Aircraft carrier Nimitz is on the way. This is looking like a catastrophic war in the making. And I can tell you it's not going to go well. for anybody. I've seen war. I've seen war zones. I know what they do. And maybe it's because the United States hasn't had a war on its own soil since 1865 and the end of the Civil War, that just too many people in politics don't understand that war is not something you want. No, you don't. You really want to avoid war at all possible costs because it expends so much of your national treasury. It kills so many young men and women now. And it destroys presidents. Lyndon Johnson, let me remind you, in 1964, won 61.1% of the popular vote, most ever in history. No other president won with such a landslide of the popular vote. Within 3 years, his popularity had plummeted because of the Vietnam War, which he clung to tenaciously. By 1968, he announced he was not going to run again because he knew he didn't have a hope in hell of winning. He had already lost the primary, the New Hampshire primary. And when a sitting president can't win a crucial primary, he knows it's game over. This could destroy the Trump presidency. And once again, you know, all of you viewers know that I've been a tremendous loyal fan of Donald Trump because I think he's done a lot to destroy the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that are not destroying all of us, but especially the military. I think he's been great with going after some government waste, certainly not waste in the Pentagon, but he has been good at some government waste. And he's expressed the desire, and of course, this is crucial, to deport all of the illegal immigrants, the invaders. This war could absolutely derail that policy and that hope and that expectation and that aspiration of getting rid of the illegals in the country that Joe Biden let in. This is going to potentially destroy the Trump presidency. And I cannot overemphasize how serious this is. This is dividing the Make America Great Again coalition. This is a coalition of traditional Republicans, social conservatives, blue-collar workers, middle-class Americans who felt completely sidelined by the Democratic Party. And same can be said of labor, organized and not in the states, that felt sidelined and ignored by the Democratic Party. And of course, it's people who really want to focus on America first. So now they're being told they have to fight this war with Iran. Why? Why do we have to fight this war with Iran? Because this was a violation of international law to start a war with Iran. It's not you call it a preemptive strike if you want, but it certainly had nothing to do with Israel and self-defense. They weren't defending themselves. They weren't attacked. This is so Orwellian to talk in language like this. But I'm more concerned the effect this is going to have on what Donald Trump wants to still do as president, because he needs all the political capital he can muster right now. I say this as somebody who's been watching politics for the past 35 years and maybe longer. Presidents need political capital to get through controversial legislation and policies, which the deportation policy is. He needs to find as many supporters as he can. This is going to divide Republicans, not only in Congress, but it's going to divide Republicans in the MAGA movement. And I just can't overemphasize that. This is going to be very, very serious. But, Representative Thomas Massie from Kentucky, I believe. He has introduced an Iran war powers resolution to prohibit U.S. involvement in the Israel-Iran war. This is not our war, even if it were. Congress must decide such matters according to our Constitution. The United States has not gone to war with congressional approval since December 7th, 1941, when Franklin Roosevelt delivered an address to a joint session of Congress and asked Congress to declare war against Japan and after that against Germany, because Germany declared war on the United States first. So that's how it's supposed to be done, folks. Is that how it's done anymore? Absolutely not. And of course, a lot of MAGA people are pushing back, including Tucker Carlson. And at the G7, Trump was asked about Tucker Carlson's comments regarding the U.S. not getting involved in the Mideast war. And Trump had the gall to suggest that unless you're on Fox News or the mainstream media, nobody listens to you, nobody watches you. I don't know what Tucker Carlson is saying. Let him go get a television network and say it so that people listen. So unless you're on Fox News, CNN, or MSNBC, you're not legitimate now, according to Donald Trump. This is diametrically opposite to everything Donald Trump stands for. Who is doing this? That's all I can say. Trump to Tucker Carlson. Are the neocons and the deep state winning? Somebody please explain to Tucker Carlson that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And he doesn't know how to spell cannot. Does it all the time. But yeah, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, the first prominent Republican in Congress to say she's agreeing with Tucker Carlson. This is just the beginning of the disintegration of the MAGA coalition, because this war is a massive distraction, and it's going to potentially lead to tremendous loss of life and tremendous waste of money. And we know everything else the United States has done in the past 20 years in the Middle East and Afghanistan and Iraq is going to pale in front of what happens here in Iran. Iran is a country of 90 million people. They do have allies in high places. This is not going to be a slam dunk because America is just the greatest military in the world. It's not prepared for this, folks. It's given so much of its national treasure and of its armaments to Ukraine. It's in completely horrible shape to fight a war like this. America is used to fighting little colonial wars where you can put down people. And that's not what they're going to get here at all. And I say, I put that back up. But interesting dialogue here from Redacted yesterday. And if you didn't have a chance to see the show, I think I'm on today if we can nail that one down. But here's Natalie and Clayton Morris talking about what this war in Iran means, and with Trump jumping into it like this.
I want you all to remember something as we bring you up to date on the Iran-Israel war. This was never about Iran getting a nuclear weapon. That was irrelevant. It was always about regime change in Iran, just like the regime in Iraq or Libya or Syria. Nuclear weapons were always a canard, a straw man to use in order to carry out regime change. And today we're seeing Israel and the neocons in Washington starting to admit the truth, like this jackass.
Chapter on the largest state sponsor of terrorism in modern history. We got a chance to end a threat to the state of Israel. I do believe, pray for our troops in harm's way. There are risks associated with any operation.
Okay, so here you've got Lindsey Graham, Republican senator from South Carolina, talking about a regime change. So it's up to the United States to decide for the Iranian people who their government is. That's what he's saying. There's actually been a suggestion, and I couldn't find the slide. I saw it last night. I was up all hours of the night watching the coverage of this. And a prominent Republican is actually suggesting they bring the son of the former Shah of Iran to Iran to be the monarch, that they somehow go turn the clock back so that Iran has a monarch again, a Shah, And of course, who is loyal to the United States? Because the United States and Britain installed the Shah of Iran in 1953. He was never very popular with the Iranian people. And the suggestion you can turn the clock back like that and just decide unilaterally who Iran should have as their government is not just arrogant, it's stupid. These people are not thinking.
Just pray for them.
No,
pray,
let's not put them there or let's protect them. Just pray for them. Spoken like someone who has no one that they want to protect.
Yeah, no kids. He's not married. I mean, I don't know who his husband is or whatever, but like he doesn't have anybody that he that's involved in this. So it's fine. It's fine for your kids to be sitting ducks and cannon fodder right now.
And tell me what countries Iran is attacking and bombing on a daily basis, like the U.S. Like what all countries are they messing with? Just out of curiosity.
Has Iran hit the United States in any kind of attack? Maybe I'm missing that.
Well, the neocons would say that Iran had a hand in the assassination attempts on Donald Trump, that Iran has been funding Hezbollah and Hamas, and that Iran continues to threaten, and that they hate Israelis. I don't want to say Israelis, that they hate Jews is the official narrative that you are asked to bite on. Therefore, we must destroy them.
Yeah, we have to destroy them. And by creating regime change in Iran, Israel is standing up for you, the Americans. That's what Benjamin Netanyahu just posted. Watch.
I mean, this is an outrageous, radical, fanatic regime, and the time has come to defang them and to stand up.
Of course, this is an outrageous extremist regime in Israel right now, headed by a guy who's going to be thrown out of office as soon as this war ends on corruption charges. And this is the only reason he wants this war to keep going. He doesn't care if Israel goes down with him. And that's what will happen if this madman continues to go and think he has the right to attack anybody he decides to attack in the region, but he's doing it for you. This is beyond the pale. Just look at what has happened in Gaza and ask yourself, is he really morally superior to those Iranian mullahs? I don't know. I don't think so. Nobody's saying Iran should have a nuclear bomb or Iran should somehow be unfettered. But it's not up to Benjamin Netanyahu to decide who runs Iran. And this was not an act of self-defense.
Against evil. That's what we're doing. But in so doing, I think we're also I know we're also standing up for you, for our Arab neighbors, for people around the world, and indeed, even for the United States, because they're trying to build ballistic missiles that will reach the eastern seaboard of the United States. So everybody is under threat from this criminal regime, and somebody had to act to stop it. And that's what we're doing.
I have a question for you. Yeah. I have a question. Why didn't that work for Zelensky when he told the United States that if we don't stop Russia, then they're coming for us? That was the same thing that Zelensky said in the Oval Office, and Trump and Vance gave him a spanking. Why is that fine now? Why is it okay for a world leader to say that now?
It's a little something called a double standard. So when Benjamin Netanyahu speaks, he is basically the president of the United States. So when Benjamin Netanyahu speaks, Americans have to listen. You have to fall in line behind Benjamin Netanyahu. We've always done his bidding when he got us into destroying Libya, when we went after Iraq and killed Saddam Hussein for a regime change operation. He told us that Iraq was getting nuclear weapons material. Total lie. It didn't matter. Millions of people died, and we did his bidding. So now the third part of this stool is Iran, of course.
And here's a clip. We had to sort of doctor it a bit for copyright reasons, but this is Steve Bannon discussing this issue with Tucker Carlson, and both of them agree that this could destroy the MAGA coalition.
Gets elected in November on the back of this amazing coalition, unprecedented coalition, different parts of American society you never thought of anything in common. Trump paints a picture that makes it really obvious that the old structure, left versus right, Democrat versus Republican, is basically BS and a control device, I think. This is my interpretation anyway. So he creates this brand new coalition. New York Times writes almost nothing about it because it's such a massive threat. But this coalition, which you described earlier and more precisely than anybody by far, is the defining fact of American politics. And it kind of feels like it's being blown up over this war in Iran. That's my observation. Correct me.
Well, I think if you look at the three planks, stop the forever wars, seal the border and deport the illegal alien, invaders, and redo the commercial relationships in the world around trade deals and bring high value added manufacturing jobs back here. They're trying to shut all three down, right? But the one that they're obsessed with the most, which I find strange, is the forever wars. They've got to be in the forever wars, and particularly in the Middle East. I mean, this is and I'm a big supporter of Israel.
Yes.
And I'm telling people, hey, if we get sucked into this war, which inexorably looks like it's going to happen on the combat side, it's going to not just blow up the coalition, it's also going to thwart what we're doing with the most important thing, which is the deportation of the illegal alien invaders that are here. If we don't do that, we don't have a country. And you just see right now, they're doubling, tripling out. This is actually potentially a real civil war in our biggest cities. And President Trump has to have our backing. And this came out of nowhere. I mean, the trade deals you saw, he put together Liberation Day, but they've been thinking about it a long time. I mean, Trump's been talking about this since Lou Dobbs back in the 90s. He lays that out there. It's very sophisticated. He's got Scott Bessent running around with Lutnick. They're trying to make these deals. He sealed the border already in the first 60 days. Now we're really going down and actually having the deportation, see the fight. And then out of nowhere comes a war with Persia. It's like a shooting war with Persia, a massive shooting war with Persia. It's like, how did this happen?
Well, how did this happen? It's because we're being dragged into this. The United States is being dragged into this war, and with, as I've said, potentially catastrophic consequences. This is a very, very serious time, and I'll be watching the events unfold because I do think we are seeing something catastrophic. And what I think is ironic about this is that all of the people out there who say, Israel is exercising self-defense, Israel is protecting itself, Israel is ensuring its future. The deeper Israel gets into this, the more likely it is that Israel will become not just marginalized in the Middle East, but could be absolutely destroyed in the process. This is no good for Israel in the end. And if you love Israel, as I always have, then you should probably be arguing and encouraging a more reasonable response, because this is leading to hell. This is leading to Armageddon. Now, you might say, well, I'm an evangelical Christian, as I am. What's wrong with hoping for that? Because we want the end to come. Well, it's not for us to make that happen. It's God's will, not ours. So I really think people who are saying, we're going to push this along, help God out, bring in the end, bring the end, the absolute end. That's not our role to play. And certainly when the morality of that war is so confused, we shouldn't be doing that. Want to touch on a couple of other things today. Thank you for your patience on this issue, but it's the elephant in the room, and we got to talk about it. And I know there's a divergence of opinion about what we should be doing, but nonetheless, I'm just trying to let you know what could happen if the United States attacks Iran today directly or by the end of the week, and that could very well help. Here's an interesting story. Remember Nate Erskine-Smith? Yeah, I think he still has a YouTube show, and he used to love to interview liberal cabinet ministers, and he interviewed Justin Trudeau at least once. And of course, he was in Mark Carney's first cabinet, but didn't make the second cut when they came back after the federal election. Nate Erskine-Smith made it quite publicly known that he was not happy with being excluded from the cabinet. And now he's saying he won't support the Liberals' C5 bill, which is the one that's supposed to eliminate interprovincial trade barriers. But there's a lot in this bill. There's like Bill C2, which is highly toxic. This bill is as well. And Erskine-Smith is saying he can't support it.
We should improve the bill and respect democratic participation as we do so. First, we should welcome greater parliamentary and civil society scrutiny. The government's proposed guillotine motion seeks to limit parliamentary debate at every stage of the bill. More concerning, it will jam all expert and public testimony and all committee scrutiny in less than 2 days. For what? Consider that Parliament isn't currently scheduled to sit between June 20th and September 15th. We are rushing legislation through Parliament under the auspices of an urgent threat, but we aren't willing to put Parliament to work for what, an additional week to get things right? The debate on amendments does not need to be rushed. We could easily extend committee hearings by an additional week, provide resources for the committee to sit every day, and engage in a more thoughtful process to hear from experts, improve the bill, and pass it through the House by Canada Day.
I think that's reasonable. Why can't they stay an extra week? They've already had months and months of time off. And there's nothing saying they've got to leave on June the 20th. They've got to go home for the summer and come back sometime in September. Absolute nonsense. The U.S. Congress does not have extended sessions of not sitting in the House of Representatives or the Senate. They would find it outrageous that we sent our members of Parliament home for the entire month of the summer and huge breaks at Easter, at Christmas, all of these other times, unheard of in the U.S. system. But I think he's got a point here, and I think there's probably a lot of animosity wrapped up in his desire to see this bill better scrutinized. But what this bill will do is essentially allow Mark Carney to decide what major projects, capital projects, are the ones worth proceeding with. It'll be Mark Carney's decision. And that's, I think, what Erskine-Smith is saying. Hey, we shouldn't be placing that much power in one man. But that is exactly what is defining Mark Carney's government. It's all about it's a Mark Carney government. He doesn't even call it a liberal government. He calls it Canada's new government, which is interesting because when Stephen Harper first became prime minister, he referred to the Conservative government as Canada's new government. How do I remember that? Because I used to actually write the talking points for that. So I remember that quite well. And I thought, after 2 or 3 years of that, it sort of got stale. But this is Mark Carney trying to pretend that it's Canada's government. It's not a liberal government. It is Canada's government. That's ominous. And the Conservatives, now correct me if I'm wrong, are supporting this bill because Pierre Poilievre said, hey, if it changes the status quo in a positive way, that's how he put it. If it changes the status quo in a positive way, we're going to support it. Conservatives will support that bill. That's very strange. It's a strange definition of what it takes to support a government bill. But I think they've been co-opted on this bill. There's no question about that. And I don't know exactly what they see in it that is so good, but I do believe that they say we can't oppose the reduction or removal of interprovincial trade barriers. I think they've convinced themselves that that's a line they can't cross. So we will see what happens. We are living in strange times. Stranger yet, Doug Ford, Ontario Premier Doug Ford, I'm very critical of Doug Ford. I call him a faux conservative. I did not like the fact he did nothing to support Pierre Poilievre in the federal election. He distanced himself from Poilievre, the Conservatives. He played right into Mark Carney's hand about the U.S. is the enemy. Donald Trump is the boogeyman. Let's focus on that. And he absolutely advanced the liberal agenda during that federal election. But here he is talking like a real conservative.
The guy that these thugs came up, ready to steal his car. They're all in their masks and everything. So I guess he was a hunter or something. He shot up in the air. I don't recommend that, by the way. But he gets charged. I got to find out this guy's name and number. And I'm going to hold a fundraiser for lawyer fees for him. He should get a medal for standing up. It's like down in the U.S., we should have the castle law. Someone breaks into your house, and I know any of these people here, someone breaks into your house, and they're coming after your kids, and you're coming after your spouse, you're going to fight like you've never fought before. You're going to use anything that you have, be it weapons, baseball bats, knives. You're protecting your family. These thugs shouldn't be coming in there. Now I'm going to tell you a story. Probably get in trouble for this. You want to hear about stupid criminals? Have you ever seen that show about stupid criminals out there? So 4 thugs come racing down my street, masks on, ready to take the car out of the driveway. Surprise, surprise, at 12:30, the 2 police cars are there. The chase is on. So they chase him. One guy runs out, takes off. They capture him, and they catch these other guys. But just imagine all the unfortunate people that don't have security there at their house with masks on, and they had all the tools ready to break in and everything, you know, and guess what's going to happen? They're going to be back out. Why don't you guys come over for a barbecue tonight? You know, I'll take care of you better than the police. And thank God the police got you and I never did. Anyways, that's my rant. I'm sick and tired of the weak justice system that we have. They have to get a backbone, and we need to start throwing these people in jail. This is turning into a lawless society. That's my rant, and that's it. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you. All I'm trying to do is protect the people of Ontario here. They know it. And deep down, they all agree, I know they do, about keeping criminals in jail. Thank you. God bless the people of Ontario.
Doug Ford says something I can agree with. I'll say I agree with that. And I'll say, good for you, Doug Ford. Sounds like a conservative talking. And I'm all for you in this instance, because we live in a country where he's quite right. If you defend your family and your property from invaders in a way that is in the least bit menacing, you're the one who gets charged, not the invader. That is insane. And we know that's insane, but that's what Canada has become. Yeah, we are like a lawless society. Now, before I go today, I want to touch on this here, because the Conservatives have really found a great issue in the House of Commons, and the question period started with some really good questions. I just want to listen to the first couple of minutes of this, because they're going after the Liberals' insistence that the gas-powered car be phased out of existence by 2035. That is nuts. And of course, they've got to be stopped from doing this.
Oral questions, questions orales. The honourable member for Grand Prairie.
Speaker, what if I told you that the government had a plan to increase the cost of vehicles by over $20,000 and kill 40,000 high-paying Canadian jobs? Well, that's exactly what these Liberals are doing with their mandate to eliminate the gas-powered vehicle starting to take effect next year. Workers and families across Canada, especially in rural and northern communities, can't afford this dangerous Liberal experiment. It's simple, Mr. Speaker. Canadians don't want this shoved down their throat. Tonight, will the Liberals vote to immediately end their radical ban on gas-powered vehicles immediately?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, leave it to the Conservatives to hit one of the most major industries that we have in our country exactly at the same time as it's getting hit by unjustified tariffs from the United States.
This is such BS. Canadians are not buying electric vehicles. I've run a number of stories about this where Ford is saying, please stop. We can't sell your electric vehicles. We don't want to sell them anymore. It's not profitable. And for this Julie Day-Brusen to stand up and to suggest that, Canadians love their electric vehicles, and it's one of our major industries. The Liberals have invested. Sorry, I almost said invested. The Liberals have wasted tens of billions of dollars in subsidies to electric vehicle plants, and they're all going to fail. They're all going up because of politics, not common sense, not economics, not what people buy, not market forces, but politics. The Liberals selling electric vehicles, promoting them, forcing people to buy them when they don't want them.
We stand with our auto workers. We've been investing in our auto industry, and we will keep making sure that we have strong union jobs in our autos.
The Honourable Member for Grand Prairie.
That's completely ridiculous, because a report out today projects 50,000 job losses in the auto sector because of trade uncertainty. But rather than providing the auto sector with any kind of certainty, these Liberals are doubling down on their risky and dangerous EV mandate. Ford and GM are pleading with the government to end the insanity. Industry projects that the Liberal ban on the gas-powered engine will cost an additional 40,000 high-paying Canadian jobs. The combination of the Liberals' inability to get a deal on tariffs, and their self-imposed radical EV mandate will destroy Canada's auto sector. So will the Liberals join us?
We'll be back with some concluding remarks after this brief message. That, of course, is one of the exciting new stickers we have. This can be, and we've got some great mugs. We got some great Alberta Proud material. But I love this one here with the vinegar bottle and champagne. Yeah, his voice does not sound like fine champagne. It does come across as vinegar, and a lot of people have noticed that. So we will be continuing to promote a lot of these products. Thanks for watching today, folks. And I say again, we will be monitoring world events. We are on the precipice of potentially huge things happening. We're on the precipice of potentially catastrophic events. And I'm not optimistic right now. I'm not optimistic that this can be contained in a polite, succinct, manageable fashion. Once a war starts, they're easy to start. They're very hard to finish. They're very hard to bring to a conclusion, and even harder to do so without tremendous loss of life and national treasure in the process. So we need to be vigilant, and we need to pray for the peace of the world right now, because it's endangered. And I don't know why Donald Trump has betrayed his MAGA base. I don't know why Donald Trump has turned his back on those people. Well, maybe I do, but I don't want to say that. Thanks for watching. We will be back again tomorrow, and potentially this afternoon if we have time to put another episode up. Thank you for watching today. It's always a pleasure. And, we need to continue to resolve, to resist, and keep on fighting for principle, for truth, for the good. And when we do that, righteousness can triumph. This has been David Krayden broadcasting to you live from Ottawa. Thank you for watching Stand on Guard, and we'll be back again